So I'd like to know from parents who have kids at no fee paying schools, how are they handling all of these demands, from cleaning supplies to other unnecessary, I guess, supplies
They're
that people want.
unnecessary.
Yeah, but activists saying some of these things are unnecessary because these are no fee
Yeah,
paying schools
yeah.
and parents don't have the money. So how are parents handling that
Because
situation?
it's one thing to request a box of tissues, right,
Yeah.
and toilet paper at a private school, but a no fee paying school asking you for boxes of tissues
Mm.
and toilet paper. Perhaps that's a point. 375,000 is the number of vehicles coming from China flooding the local market. A story on the front page of the Business Day. Chinese car surge widens gap with South Africa. Arson or Eskom is asking the Citizen. This is, of course, wildfires devastating the eastern and western Cape as arson fears collide with Eskom's failing infrastructure.
EWN Business.
Muteo wants to know if, as you return to work, there's any colleague you might be dreading to see, and how do you deal with bullies in the professional space? Do you take them head on, go to HR, or do you move on and find another job? What prompts the question, Muteo?
Well, Bongani, U.S. Central Bank Chief Jerome Powell says his President Donald Trump is targeting him for doing his job. Federal prosecutors have opened a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. The federal criminal investigation is related to a $2.5 billion renovation to the central bank's headquarters and the congressional testimony Powell made about the matter last year. But Powell says the probe is the result of the Fed setting interest rates based on its own assessment of what will serve the public rather than the following the preferences of President Donald Trump.
Criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
One Twitter or X user says, you know things are bad when the most boring person doing the most boring job for decades has to come out and say, stop trying to arrest us for doing the maths.
Doing the job, of course, but Trump, of course, wants deep cuts from the Federal Reserve. He hasn't made it a secret that Jerome Powell is not his preferred candidate, even after appointing him in 2017. You'll remember in his first tenure as president, he was the man who put Powell up forward. Powell, of course, is not a Democrat, a Republican, and was chosen by Trump in 2017. Last month, the Fed made its third interest rate cut, despite inflation remaining above its 2% target. Fed policymakers are voting to lower the benchmark federal funds rate by 25 basis points to a new range of 3.5% to 3.75%. Trump, in fact, has given out a name, a National Economic Council Director, Kevin Wash, as his preferred candidate to take over from Powell in May, but it seems the push out has started quite early.
I mean, and you know when an administration goes after the central bank governor, there are problems. So let's talk your indicators then.
Rand 1647, quite strong against the dollar, 19 Rand 20 against the euro, 22 Rand 10 cents against the British pound. Price of gold still good, $4,568 an ounce, or platinum is up 2.5% at $2,346. Brent crude at $63.40 a barrel. More business after 7.
Straight to the news desk we go. Swiso Zulu, what you got?
Thanks, Marley. Good morning. Professor and Dean of the Education Faculty at Stellenbosch University, Mbulu Madiba, says more needs to be done to address the national skills shortage as the country's tertiary institutions prepare to open their doors for the 2026 academic year. South Africa's technical and vocational education and training sector faces criticism that its curriculum is lagging behind, making it more difficult to keep up with the labour market. The issue has been made worse by a lack of qualified staff and funding constraints at some TVET colleges. Madiba says there needs to be a collaborative effort with corporate South Africa to ensure that courses offered at TVET colleges meet the labour sector demands.
I'm very nervous for the upcoming results. However, I know that my commitment and dedication, as well as my hard work towards my studies, will definitely show in my results, but the nerves are still very much there.
Police in Limpopo have received praise for their quick response in arresting a suspect on a rape charge. The 30-year-old suspect is due to appear in court today in connection with the alleged rape of a 95-year-old woman on Friday. It's alleged that the woman was preparing food when the armed suspect, who was known to the victim, assaulted and raped her inside her home in Sekhukhune district. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashava.
Through diligent investigative work, the police traced and arrested the suspect on Saturday night, the 10th of January 2026. The suspect is expected to appear before Nebu Magistrate Court on Monday, the 12th of January 2026, facing a charge of rape.
Staying in Limpopo, the Transport Department has called on police to leave no stone unturned in investigating a fatal crash on the N1. The 4 people were killed yesterday when an unknown driver failed to comply with the rules of the road yesterday. 3 children are among the victims. Transport Department spokesperson Chifiwa Danley.
A Haval SUV and a VW sedan were traveling in one direction when the Haval SUV swerved to avoid an unknown vehicle overtaking on a barrier line, colliding head-on with the Toyota sedan. The VW sedan then collided with the Toyota sedan. The unknown vehicle fled the scene. We are appalled by the senseless tragedy and condemn the driver's reckless behavior.
And a Hong Kong court has started hearing sentencing arguments today for pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai, who was convicted of national security crimes that could land him in prison for life. Lai was found guilty on 2 counts of conspiracy to commit collusion last month under a sweeping national security law that was imposed by Beijing in 2020 after huge and sometimes violent pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. The 78-year-old media mogul was also convicted of publishing seditious articles through his now-closed Apple Daily newspaper. Lai is a British citizen, and the UK government has condemned his politically motivated prosecution in an earlier statement calling for his release. Lawyers will address 3 High Court judges on how to punish Lai, starting with arguments scheduled to last for the next 4 days. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng, with showers expected today. The temperatures are at lows of 16 and 17 degrees, peaking at highs between 26 and 28.
Traffic backed up in Mountain View, Pretoria. This is on the R80 southbound Mabopane Highway between Brema and Eskiamphahlele. Leaving Germiston, traffic also sluggish. N3 north between the Ilands Interchange and Kilulis.
The top story this hour, there's a call for more to be done to address the national skills shortage as the country's tertiary institutions prepare to open for this year.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on primemediaplus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the primemediaplus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
For the best game viewing, you go to Mpumalanga. For the best whale watching, you go to Hermanus. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 7.6% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account and access your funds within 24 hours. For better returns, go with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 21 minutes before 7 o'clock. Don't forget, of course, as the kids return to school this week, so does the Whiz quiz return. 10,000 Rand up for grabs. If you're aged 10 to 13, we've got 10 questions. You've got to give us 10 correct answers in 60 seconds. So welcome back to all the little ones who tune in for the Whiz quiz.
702
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Morning, Bongles and the team. Let's make 2026 great. And let's all get to making South Africa working great again, getting our population employed in the policies that stymie economic growth. We need to change them.
Morning, Bongani and the team. Bongani, where have you been? Yeah, how was your holiday? What was on your diet during the holiday? Bongani, by looking at you, I can tell. Morning, Bongani. Welcome back.
I did try some clean living. Yesterday, I put a little silly post, and I said, I was standing next to this cabinet filled with liquor and a little pink drink in my glass, and I said, how dry is my January? Nobody believes me, but I've been trying some clean living. I'm going 100 days of not touching alcohol. So that goes, I think, until mid-April, and I'm on day 15 now. So it's funny, I don't even miss it. I sleep better, I sleep longer, and I'm just less tired. I'm feeling much more rejuvenated in the mornings. So if you want to know how my holiday, that was a part of it.
EWN Sport.
And in a bright yellow dress, looking all sunshine, Cindy Paluta, a happy new year.
And to you too, Bongani, welcome back.
How was your holiday?
It was
While you were working.
Yeah, I worked till the 31st, and then we took a quick break. Went down to Umhlanga.
Oh, yes.
And the weather was
I love
spectacular.
Umhlanga.
Oh, and you could swim in the sea, and the water was so warm, and it was just absolutely spectacular.
Refreshing to just be away for that little while.
And it's very interesting that you're talking about clean living and fresh starts and whatever. And I've come across a recent one on the socials, which is something I'd been playing with in the back of my mind. Yeah. Remember they always used to do, there was that lady who, when you were cleaning your house, she would say you have to hold the item, and if it didn't have any kind of significance or whatever, then you get rid of it. Remember that?
Yes.
Now I've seen there's a new method called the Danish death cleaning.
Yeah.
And basically it's if you had to die.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to leave your house with so much clutter and stuff that your family have to sort through it.
So what would you give away?
So when you're going through the drawer, think about like how hard is it going to be for my family to now have to go through all this stuff? And I thought that was such a fascinating way of looking through it.
And if it would be hard for them to get rid of it now.
Yeah, like
don't
accumulate clutter that somebody else will have to clean up after your death. I think that's fabulous.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. Well, talking about accumulating, it's a sort of clutter. Talk to me about Juan Martinelli.
Yes, absolutely. FA Cup action yesterday. Arsenal's Gabriel Martinelli scoring a hat-trick as the Gunners came from behind to beat Portsmouth 4-1. They're through to the fourth round, while Manchester United was knocked out by Brighton, who beat them 2-1 at Old Trafford. Brighton's goals from Gruder and Welbeck as Sheshko got a consolation for United. Interim coach Darren Fletcher.
I think the players you see the reaction at the end, and deservedly so. So we're disappointed with the result, and probably disappointed with some moments in the game, especially responding to Brighton's first goal. I think we took too long to respond from that. So players are down, disappointed, hurt, but they're going to have to pick themselves up and recover because we've got a big game next week.
Look, that early Portsmouth goal was a worry, but I'm very, very encouraged to know that we're scoring from set pieces.
Who?
Arsenal.
Oh. No, because I played Darren Fletcher, so I wasn't sure if you were speaking about United. No, I was like, United's not scoring from set pieces.
What did you call them? A medium. What did
you call them? They are a mid-table team.
A mid-table team, yes. No,
right.
Moving on.
Also through to the fourth round goes West Ham, Leeds, Norwich, West Brom, Mansfield Town and Hull. Tonight, Liverpool plays Barnsley. Liverpool without defender Conor Bradley for the rest of the season. He had a bad knee injury in the goalless game with Arsenal. The AFCON semi-final will be this Wednesday. Senegal against Egypt, followed by Nigeria. against Morocco. In cricket, SA20 were at the halfway stage of the tournament. Last night, Durban Super Giants beat Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 2 wickets to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. Today, Pretoria Capitals host MI Cape Town. International action yesterday, India narrowly beating New Zealand by 4 wickets in a first ODI. Man of the match Virat Kohli making 93 from 91 to help India chase down 301 with an over to spare. And in Investec Champions Cup Rugby, not a great weekend for the South African teams, with the Bulls, Sharks and Stormers all losing. It was the Stormers' first loss of the competition. They went down 61-10 to Harlequins. Harlequins have made the last 16. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Good morning, Uncle Bongani. My name is Nkuketeng. I'm 12 years old and I go to Parktown High School for girls. When I grow up, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I can't wait to play the Whiz Quiz with you today.
Oh, come on, young businesswoman. We can't wait to play with you too, and we've got some cash to give you.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN Traffic.
6:45, the CWN Traffic is brought to you by Ford. Live at your peak in the Ford Everest. Garabo, you were telling us about delays in Pretoria North. What's going on?
Sure, Bonks. That's coming, leaving Soshanguve, heading towards Mountain View, making your way through towards the Pretoria CBD. Traffic heavily backed up already. This is on the R80 southbound Mabopane Highway, approaching Skiampahlele. Leaving Germiston, traffic sluggish. N3 northbound. That's from the Ilan interchange all the way to the Kilulis interchange. Also, if you are leaving Rudeport, heading towards Four Ways, there's slow-moving traffic in Randburg. N1 northbound. That's between Beyers, Nodia and Rivonia Road, and traffic lights still not working in Four Ways at Witkoppen and Leslie. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
There's heading out for the weekend, and then there's heading out for the weekend in your Ford Everest. With terrain modes for any road conditions and seats comfier than your leather couch, it's not just traveling, it's exploring. That's peak living in the Ford Everest, starting from only 837-500. And with our Ford family promise, you have access to a 60-minute express service, because your vehicle deserves a pit crew too. Visit your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
My name is Mr. Bingwa. Welcome back. Welcome back from the holiday, Mr. Bingwa. I hope you enjoyed and rested. Mr. Bingwa, I would just like you to remind us, I think you're one of the few people who, when Trump won the election, you said in the radio that we must fasten our seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride. While majority of us, we were excited that there's a new president coming. Hopefully, the Gaza war is going to be sorted because Trump take decisions. But look at where we are right now. Please just remind us where you said it. I think it was around December, if I'm not mistaken. Just after November, I think, when you won the elections. Thanks.
Good morning. Welcome back, Uncle Bongs. I think with Trump, the one thing that a lot of people are letting him do is continue to hint at a third term. And if it was just America who's being affected by what he's doing, it would have been easy to take because they voted for him. But it's gotten to the point where he's becoming an international threat in just his erratic nature. And one of his cabinet members, or whatever they call it in the US, after the abduction of Maduro, kept repeating the words that now people must understand that we don't have a president who plays around. When he says he's going to do something, he does it. And he's mentioned it repeatedly now that, say, for example, there was a war when it's time for the next elections. Are you saying that America would then not have elections? And you could immediately see his face light up because I really think he's looking towards having a third term.
Yeah, I remember mentioning that he was sitting with the Ukrainian president, I think it was at the White House, where he was pressuring Ukraine to go to elections. And Zelensky says, but we're in the middle of a war. He says, what do you mean? So does that, what? So if there's a war, You don't have to go to elections? And as you say, his face really did light up. He's just posted on Truth Social that he's now the acting president of Venezuela. A little after 7 o'clock, our big interview will delve into all of those international stories and what the impact means for us here in South Africa, because it may feel like it is far away, but believe me, it does matter.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz
on 702.
All right, let's play the Whiz Quiz. We do this at around this time every weekday. Contestants must be aged 10 to 13 to play. I've got 10 questions. I need 10 correct answers in 60 seconds to give 10,000 Rand, which is the grand prize. Otherwise, it's $100 for each correct answer. Today, we're playing with 12-year-old Nkoketseng, who wants to be an entrepreneur a little later in life and goes to Parktown High School for girls. Nkoketseng, are you ready to play the Whiz Quiz with us? Happy New Year!
Happy New Year to you too. I'm ready.
And when do you go back to school?
I'm actually going there now.
Are you going there now? But schools reopen a little later this week, don't they?
Yeah, I'm going for orientation.
Orientation. Oh my goodness. Well, good luck to you. I hope you enjoy. I'm assuming you're going to Parktown Girls High School for the first time.
Yes, I am.
This is your first year of high school.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my goodness. Good luck to you, hey? I hope you enjoy it. I hope you make great new friends and just fun, hey? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Nkoketseng, let's play the Whiz Quiz. Palisa, start the clock. Spell the word bottle.
Bottle. B-O-T-T-L-E.
Correct. In maths, what is 60 minus 20?
40.
Correct. True or false? South Africa is a neighbor of Malawi.
False.
Correct. In cartoons, what color gloves does Mickey Mouse wear?
Yellow.
It's white.
White.
What is the name of the river that flows through the Brazilian rainforest?
Mediterranean River.
It's the Amazon. True or false? Each cell in a honeycomb has 6 sides.
True.
Correct. Complete the expression used by tennis umpires. Game, set, and?
Done.
Match. True or false? WWE stands for World Wrestling Entertainment.
True.
It is true. From which European language did we get the word cappuccino? Is it French or Italian?
French.
It is Italian. It is Italian. And of course, as always, we accept the first answer that you give us. Nkoketseng, that gives you a total score of 6 correct answers. And that means you walk away with 600 Rand. Not a bad start to the new year as you enter high school. 600 Rand will come in handy. Do send us a WhatsApp voice note on 072 702 1702. If you're aged 10 to 13, the Whiz Quiz is back. We could be calling you.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
And coming up in the next hour, what's the question? Brought to you by Outsurance. 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. So you send us an answer based on anything that piqued your interest during the show, and for that we'll give you $1,000. Simply WhatsApp us your name and answer to 072 702 1702. Then, of course, a little later, someone else will ask a question to get your answer to win 2,000 Rand. Now, you always stand a better chance of being selected if you've SMS'd out to Outsurance and got yourself a quote. So do it now. SMS out to 45142. You could save on your car insurance.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes to 7. Onto this now. Carefully cropped photographs and choreographed supporters in the Northwest. The ANC says its Jan 8 celebrations were a roaring success. From dwindling support to impassable roads to get to the stadium where the festivities were held, is the once mighty behemoth reading the mood and, on the other hand, always poised to sell itself as the alternative? Its biggest rival, the Democratic Alliance, is now clearly in open civil war as senior party members engage in tit-for-tat spats at the office of the Public Protector. It's a pivotal year for South African politics and local government. And what of voters to make of the choices before them. We've asked the political analyst Lukhona Mnguni to join us this morning to wade us through this landscape. Lukhona, as always, a pleasure to have you on the show. Compliments of the season and the rest. Thank you for talking to us.
Well, Happy New Year, Bongani, and a good compliment of the season to your listeners as well. Always good to chat with you.
All right, let's start at the Moruleng Stadium just outside Rustenburg. The turnout was blamed on various factors, including roads, traffic, and, of course, when we looked at parts of the stadium that seemed empty, we were told, no, there just wasn't enough shade. 20,000 for the ANC a few years ago would have seemed like nothing. It's incredible to see that this party, the so-called leader of society, can't fill even a 20,000-seater stadium.
Well, Bongani, of course, I mean, it's concerning for the ANC because it talks to their ability to not mobilize as effectively as they used to. You'll know that January 8 has been quite a well-attended event which attracts membership even from other provinces. So yes, struggling to fill up a 20,000-seater does indicate to the inability to mobilize properly. But also I think it's indicative of just how disorganized the ANC has been in the Northwest province. I mean, you'll remember not too long ago, parts of the provincial government were put under administration and caretakership of the national cabinet. And I think the ANC continues to be weak. If you look at electoral performance in Northwest, Northwest is one of those vulnerable provinces where the ANC is most likely to dip below 50% in the 2029 elections.
Maybe Brown Mukhotsi was busy, hey?
Well, clearly he didn't get enough wings from Ket Matala this time around.
I mean, levity aside, I looked at the 6 priorities as per the statement from this year, and they're almost a copy and paste, just perhaps in different order, to the 6 priorities they gave us last year. Is the party running out of ideas?
Well, Bongani, I don't think the party is running out of ideas per se. That is an issue. I have said this previously, that the ANC has become intellectually weak over the past 2 decades. But I think more than anything, the party is struggling to implement that which it promises to do. And as a result, it has to regurgitate the same talking points because they have not been implemented. Because had they been implemented, they would be moving on to the next thing. I mean, if you look, for example, at talking about unity and renewal, which has been the rallying call of President Ramaphosa at the helm of the ANC since 2017 December, nothing much of unity and renewal has happened. In actual fact, if anything that has happened is disunity, disorganization, and a crumbling of any sense of a coarse political center. And they talk about the things that they need to do, like political education, this and that. You can see the SACP is marching ahead, contesting the ANC in the local government elections this year, and they'll be launching a manifesto and so on. So you don't get a sense that these things that they talk about, they are able to implement them.
You would expect that in an election year, I mean, that perhaps will happen in the last quarter of 2026, but nonetheless, it will happen. You'd want to hit the ground running. Let's look at the DA now. It seems, I think the Sunday Times called it open warfare yesterday. Dion George and Willie Okamp taking each other essentially to the Public Protector's office.
No, of course. I mean, you will remember that the DA is also going to a Congress to elect a new leadership in April this year. Well, April, May this year. That is the expectation. The date hasn't really been confirmed. Last I checked, but I've been in the village for a long time, so a lot of things have been happening. But the DA is going to a Congress. It's going to be a tightly contested Congress. I think John Steenhuisen really wants to affirm his authority over the party as a leader, and Okamp's moves to the public protector of taking George in terms of what would have happened while he was in office in the same portfolio that he's now minister in is almost seen as a proxy fight on behalf of the party leader. And, you know, Okamp wants to, you know, restate his loyalty to the party leader. I'm sure he's grateful that he's been appointed as minister, but of course, probably they want George to become ineligible for leadership. And of course, you'd know that in the party, George is seen as, as attacking Steenhuisen. If you remember the whole issue that was published by media last year, that has to do with the credit card usage and all of this. So there is this kind of, as you say, the Saturday Times coining it an open warfare. But to what extent? I think to the extent that it influences support for some people towards the National Congress, and I think it's going to be a tightly contested leadership.
Does John
race.
Steenhuisen survive this?
I think he can. If you follow John Steenhuisen's trajectory in the DA and how he has managed to survive quite a number of scandals, he's actually not been shy of scandals in his leadership journey. But in terms of how he has survived, in terms of how he has made a comeback, if you follow him moving from the Durban City Council to the legislature in KwaZulu-Natal, to the caucus in Parliament, becoming whip, becoming leader, and all of those things. It's been quite an interesting journey for him.
So this is just more roadkill, huh?
Well, that's what he called his wife, his ex-wife, in that terrible interview with Mantashe. So I won't go there. But I think, look, it's just but one other test for him. He's a cunning politician. He's in terms, and people always, Bongani, not get this point. There's a difference between a person being a good person in governance and a good politician. And I think John is a good politician, and this move to get George out of cabinet and his person in there was in part his most political move. I mean, if you actually go back on social media, you didn't even see Helen Zille, attempting to congratulate Ocamp on his appointment as minister, because she's probably not in line with that decision. But it was John Steenhuisen affirming his authority and the party as a leader.
Look, I'm going to appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. As voters, of course, in a pivotal election here, yes, it's local government, but perhaps these two stories indicate some of the thoughts you need to have in your mind in terms of the choices before you this year.
7:02.
Coming up, the big interview.
The big interview focuses on the big international stories and the impact on South Africa. All of that to come after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Khalix. Khalix, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is EWN.
The IEB has released its 2025 Matric results, and the DA wants to see the reports of the NDPP interviews. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Independent Examinations Board has announced a 98.3% overall Matric pass rate. The IEB is an independent assessment body that offers exams for IEB registered schools in line with the curriculum standards set by the Department of Basic Education. More than 16,000 full-time candidates wrote the IEB NEC examinations in October and November last year. Meanwhile, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube will later today announce the results for the National Senior Certificate exam.
I want to say to you, congratulations for coming this far, for your discipline, for your effort, for your resilience. You ought to be so proud of yourself. And to those who may not have achieved the results that they are hoping for, I want to remind you, this is not the end of the road or the journey for you. You can try again, and there are multiple opportunities for you to be able to do that.
The DA has filed a Promotion of Access to Information Act application to force President Cyril Ramaphosa to release the report into the National Director of Public Prosecution selection process. Last week, Ramaphosa unexpectedly appointed Advocate Andy Mutibi, who was serving as the head of the Special Investigating Unit as NDPP. This follows recommendations presented by an advisory panel who led interviews of 6 shortlisted candidates for the role. According to Ramaphosa's office, the panel presented a report to the president recommending that none of the shortlisted candidates were suitable for the role. Oren Singh reports.
Advocate Andy Motibi is set to replace Shamila Batoy, whose term comes to an end at the end of this month. DA spokesperson on Justice and Constitutional Development, Advocate Glenys Breitenbach, says South Africans are entitled to see the NDPP advisory panel report. Breitenbach says Ramaphosa cannot exercise such sweeping constitutional powers behind a veil of secrecy.
This position undermines transparency in a process that was already marred by delays, an ill-equipped panel, and a failure to properly discharge its mandate. The National Director of Public Prosecutions is a very, very important position, and South Africans are entitled to know how he arrived at the decision to appoint Mr. Motibi.
Last week, Ramaphosa's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, confirmed the report would not be made public. Oren Singh, Eyewitness News.
The ANC is now shifting its attention to preparations for the upcoming local government elections as it sets its sight to regain support in municipalities where it lost a majority. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on members to actively campaign for the party ahead of the municipal elections. Ramaphosa issued the remarks during the ANC's 114th birthday rally at Moruleng Stadium just outside Rustenburg in the northwest at the weekend. Alfara Mushwana was there.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has outlined key 6 priorities the party must focus on this year, both internally and within government. These include fixing local government, tackling crime, driving economic transformation and strengthening organizational renewal. However, the party acknowledges a growing trust deficit among voters and a decline in public confidence. Ramaphosa has called on all ANC members not to fold their arms.
We want to make it clear all ANC members will be required as per the Constitution to campaign for ANC victory in the forthcoming local government elections.
The municipal elections are expected to take place in November or before the end of the January 2027 deadline. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in the northwest.
And Sudan's military-led government has returned to the country's capital after nearly 3 years of operating from its wartime base in the eastern city of Port Sudan. Sudan's Prime Minister Kamil Idris told reporters yesterday that the government of hope was officially back in Khartoum and will begin efforts to improve services. The military was forced out of the by the paramilitary rapid support forces when civil war erupted between the two sides in 2023. The army recaptured it in a significant breakthrough just last March, and Khartoum has been recovering from years of fighting, and about 5 million fled the city at the height of the conflict. Gold is trading at $4,577.64 an ounce. The rand is at 16.46 to the dollar, 22.09 to the pound, 19.18 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.44 a barrel.
Slow-moving traffic in Randburg. That's leaving Rudaport heading towards Four Ways N1 North from 14th Avenue all the way to Malibongwe Drive. And in Iliondale, that's in the Edenvale area, expect some delays on Modderfontein Road between Zierfontein Road and Laurie.
And in your sport, it's the first time since 1981 that Manchester United's been knocked out of both domestic cups so early on in the season. They lost 2-1 to Brighton yesterday, while Arsenal cruised past Portsmouth. At the SA20, Durban Supergiants keeping their hopes alive with a narrow 2-wicket win over Sunrisers Eastern Cape. And the Stormers suffered their first loss of the Investec Champions Cup, going down 61-10 to Harlequins.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Johannesburg is at a low of 16 degrees, peaking at 26. Pretoria 17 and 28, Vereniging 16 and 27. The top story in EWN this hour: the Independent Examinations Board has announced a 98.3% overall Matric pass rate.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
It's time to get back to business by visiting Khaliq's, because a new year means a fresh new start and even more opportunities to look smart with Khaliq's collection of business suits in a range of colors, styles and quality fabrics, not to mention the very best quality value for money and service. So whatever your New Year's resolution, do it in style with business, formal, relaxed and casual collections, all from Khaliq's, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Don't forget, of course, 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, don't forget, coming up, what's the question? Your opportunity to win some cash. Send us an answer based on something you heard on the show that piqued your interest. Somebody else, of course, will get to ask a question to win some cash. But yes, indeed, over the next couple of days, the story is going to be all about education. The Independent Examination Board, this is the one that is followed by many of the private schools, announcing a 98.3% Matric pass rate. This, of course, as we anticipate the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwahube, to release the results for the National Senior Certificate Exam. So likely tomorrow you can listen out as we speak to some of the stars of the class of 2025. In the meantime, the DA wants access to information in terms of the process undertaken by the president to select the new National Director of Public Prosecutions. They also want that report, because you remember there was that panel that was chaired by the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Mamoloko Kubai, that interviewed a number of candidates. The understanding is that none of those were suitable for the posts. They didn't recommend any of them to the president, who went ahead and appointed the now former SIU head, Advocate Andy Mutibi, as the new country top prosecutor. Have a listen to President Cyril Ramaphosa addressing the media and explaining that particular choice.
I've appointed a known figure, a person who is in the criminal justice system, who has distinguished himself and who has demonstrated his ability. And I'm hoping that everybody will accept this for what it is. And of course, in future, we would want even the law or the constitution to be amended to allow a more open process. We don't have it now, and it was instituted at my volition. And when it didn't yield the results that I expected, I had to rely on what the constitution empowers me to do.
And really, essentially, the president there making the point that he wasn't obliged to even have that advisory panel who led those interviews for shortlisted candidates. He says that was something he did of his own volition to try and make the process of appointing an NDPP more transparent. And so when they couldn't come up with a name, he did what the Constitution allows him to do, simply make his own choice. The other person, of course, you cannot ignore has to be the American president, who's just posted on his social media platform this morning that he is officially the acting president of Venezuela, but not quite satisfied with that. He's got his eyes set on Greenland, which is administered by Denmark, an ally within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the NATO alliance, arguably the most successful alliance over the last 80 years in terms of international affairs. Speaking at a White House briefing last week, the US President Donald Trump said, look, he wants to reach an agreement with Denmark over Greenland, but if that doesn't work, he'll have the world's biggest island the hard way or the easy way. It is an extraordinary statement to be made by the American president because, of course, presumably the hard way means he'll take it by force. What would that mean for NATO?
We are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And and by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too. I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way.
Either the nice way or the more difficult way. But also, have a listen to his comment. Just because they landed boats there 500 years ago doesn't mean it's their land. Does he really want a consistent application of that statement? Huh?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
It's a big day of calls for nearly 1 million grade 12 learners across the country. Today, the 2025 Matric results will be announced by the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Kwagube. We will be speaking to her tomorrow morning. She's obviously got a busy day today. For some, it's a moment of celebration. For others, it will mean taking a breather, considering things like remarks, rewrites, or perhaps a different path beyond Matric. On Wednesday, the former acting National Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Khumudzo Phahlane, set to step into Parliament's ad hoc committee. Phahlane has long claimed he was framed and targeted by external investigators, including one Paul O'Sullivan, to block his permanent appointment as commissioner. O'Sullivan, for his part, says he will only appear before the ad hoc committee online or virtually because he now says he fears for his life. It's a really interesting time to be alive in South Africa. Now listen to this. A Gauteng mother is desperate and in some shock after discovering that her 5-year-old daughter, who was due to start grade R this week, was allegedly taken to the Democratic Republic of Congo by her father without her consent. This is reporting from the Sowetan newspaper that one Yowa Mkhalipi doesn't have a passport and her birth certificate is with her mother, but somehow she was able to leave the country, and her mother Nolutando is baffled about how the other parent managed to take the child out of the country. Ethiopia is planning to build what is set to become Africa's biggest airport, a $12.5 billion project led by Ethiopian Airlines. When it opens in 2030, it will boast 4 runways, space for hundreds of planes, and capacity to serve 110 million passengers a year. Will it then give Ethiopia a shot at becoming the Dubai of African airports? How much longer can we continue to claim to be the gateway to the continent? And on this day in 2008, Mary J. Blige reminded the world why she remains a powerhouse. Her album Growing Pains debuted at #1 in the United States, her 4th chart-topping album, cementing her status as the queen of hip-hop soul.
702. Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
Up next, we speak to risk analyst, former diplomat, public relations expert, and so much more, Dr. Kingsley Makubella. All of that to come after this Eyewitness News traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 451442 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo, you were telling us about delays on the November 1 North. What's going on?
Yeah, that's leaving the Roodepoort area heading towards Fourways. We still have slow-moving traffic N1 northbound. That's between 14th Avenue and Malibongwe Drive. In Whitfield, that's in Boksburg, traffic pressure on Pretoria Road between Set Street and the N12. Leaving Germiston, traffic remains sluggish. This is on the N3 northbound between the Ilans interchange and the Gilulis interchange. Still in Ekurhuleni, Edenville, bumper-to-bumper traffic heading towards Bedford View. That's the R24 N12 west between Edenville Road and the Gilulis interchange. Iliondale in the Edenville area. Expect some delays on Modderfontein Road between Zierfontein Road and Lorry. Pretoria in Mountain View, traffic heavily backed up. R80 southbound, that's Mabopane Highway between Brema and Ethiopian. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsman can't help you make office small talk about your holidays, but they can ease the traffic congestion so you can get to work on time. With the Outsurance Pointsman on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get to where we need to be quickly and safely in the new year. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using #PointsmanLove, a licensed insurer and FSP.
7:02.
The Big Interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
18 minutes after 7, on to this now. The U.S. attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of its sitting head of state, Nicolas Maduro, has thrown the rule book of the last 80 years of the post-World War II international order out of the window. This, as you've just heard in that clip I played, as Washington now threatens to grab Greenland from Denmark. Meanwhile, protests in Iran could finally topple the regime that has ruled with an iron fist for the last 50 years. We in South Africa have an American ambassador coming in, even as we run Navy drills with the US's biggest adversaries, Russia, China, and Iran, off the coast of Cape Town, as Israel, of course, continues to bombard Gaza. And it's only the second week of the year. Are we living through a reset of global power, or is it perhaps just a very loud phase of it? To help us make sense of all of this beyond the headlines and the theatrics, as I said, we are joined by risk analyst, former diplomat, and public relations executive, Dr. Kingsley Makubella. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Happy New Year and compliments of the season, as they say.
Happy New Year, Bongani, and thanks very much.
All right, let's start with Donald Trump. He's just posted on Truth Social this morning that he's now the acting president of Venezuela. But if you look deeper at that attack, how ill-considered was it? He says America now controls Venezuelan oil, but as you would know, it's not neatly packed in wooden barrels ready to be shipped off. It's deep in the ground. You need major infrastructure and investment to get it out. All of that will be recouped over a long period of time. The oil companies would need some guarantee that they'll get their money out. Will they bite?
Well, so far, his meeting with the oil barons, as I prefer to call them, on Friday, they've raised serious concern about moving immediately to Venezuela. One of it, of course, is the long-term stability. And the other thing is the legality of them moving in and starting to extract oil that actually it's controlled by the United States. So there are challenges that they are raising with Donald Trump. I don't think they will be able to overcome that. You may have seen that also yesterday. The Americans have issued out instructions for all Americans in Venezuela to leave because there are roadblocks that have been created. So the condition is becoming much more difficult for any company to be able to send expatriates to operate there. So there are challenges.
Yeah, the roadblocks are essentially organized gangs, local gangs that have really been running much of the streets of Caracas, for example, and they're setting up checkpoints to see if there are any Americans in vehicles in the Venezuelan capital. But also, we've also got to consider that insofar as all of this is concerned, some of the American oil companies have seen this movie before. There was a reason Exxon couldn't really do much when Chavez nationalized.
Well, Bongani, the nationalization of oil in Venezuela, it dates back to 1977. That's when they came up with the revision law that literally nationalized that. And the Venezuelan paid American companies that were doing business. There were retrenchment packages that were set up. The only thing that Chavez did, actually, was to distribute the control by the government or state-owned company, distribute the resources that are accrued from the sale of oil, and which means it took some of the shareholders, internal shareholders, were very much disgruntled about that. But it's an old thing, the nationalization.
Yeah.
And actually, when it was first nationalized, Bongani, it was done by a conservative government, a very right-wing government that started the nationalization in 1976.
So what's good for the goose must surely be good for the gander. What does it mean then for Washington's self-proclaimed moral authority if, as a result of all of this, Russia presses on in Ukraine and China increasingly becomes menacing towards Taiwan?
The problem that the Americans have created, and that's the debate that is going on at the Capitol Hill now, is the precedent setting that the Americans are doing now to move into a country and take the resources of the country. I mean, Venezuela is said to be having about $303 billion barrels of oil in reserve, but most of this oil is very thick and deep. So it raises serious challenges about the long-term international order. President Trump came out quite clearly in the last 3 days to say he doesn't care about international order. He is international law. He's going to be guided by his moral intuitive. And he hasn't defined what is his moral intuitive that will guide him in dealing with international issues. So I'm saying, Bongani, we're seeing probably not only the hemorrhaging of international law, maybe the burial of international law, if we are not seeing the memorial of international law, but there's something that is happening with respect to international law. The rule book has been thrown out.
Greenland, Trump says he'll take it the easy or the hard way. I mean, it would have been inconceivable not even months ago to think of the Americans threatening a NATO member country, essentially an ally.
You know, I saw reports during the weekend that the Joint Chiefs, actually, Trump wanted to get the invasion plan. And the Joint Chiefs said to him, it creates a serious legal problem. It may be illegal. So we don't know if the Joint Chiefs are going to give him an invasion plan or they're still going to stick around the question of the legality. Remember, even the military, they have to operate within the legal framework. If they are seen to operate outside the legal framework, it's a total different method. Of course, they can be overruled by Pete Hegseth and the White House, but they have given their first opinion. So we'd like to see how it evolves.
Well, there's also the small matter of Congress. Ordinarily, a U.S. president shouldn't be able to go to war without approval from the legislature. Let's bring it perhaps home in terms of how all of this impacts us. We've got an incoming U.S. ambassador. He has a hostile agenda as far as our constitutional reforms and order are concerned and has made no secret of it. He comes, of course, at a time when we are conducting Navy drills just outside Cape Town with America's biggest adversaries, China, Russia, and Iran.
You know, Bongani, South African, we should desist from identifying American enemies as South African enemies. And the unfortunate part, even within the media space here, people are speaking about sanctioned frigate or sanctioned warship. No, these are unilateral sanctions imposed by the United States. It's not international law. So we must move away from this idea that once the American sanctions a particular company or a particular group, it's international law. That's absolutely wrong. South Africa has to identify how it interacts with everyone else. We've had military drills with the United States in this country. And no one has made noise about it to say, well, South Africa is abandoning the non-allied because the engagement with it is with the United States. So that's one problem. But, you know, the ambassador who's coming here, Bongani, people have to be very careful about how you treat an ambassador. You know, once his agreement has been granted by South Africa, I don't know what happened about that, we have to provide some level of respect to him. But South Africa has the right also not to grant him an agreement. But it can be, Bongani, on the basis of his utterances or articulation of government policy. When you refuse to give an agreement sometimes, it's based on the personal view that he holds. But the receiving state also, in terms of Article 4 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, the receiving state has absolute authority not even to give reasons for declining.
Yeah.
We don't know in this case if South Africa has given
Let me press you on both those points that you are making. I mean, it didn't take very much for the US to kick out our ambassador based on his utterances in Washington. And insofar as our non-aligned stance, is it in our strategic interest to throw in our lot with countries that don't guarantee security when attacked, as Maduro found out?
Well, this is if you look at these maneuvers that are taking place, they are not a security guarantee. They are worked within the realm of the BRICS to be able to share resources and share approaches in terms of maritime protection, not only for military, for a host of related issues, syndicates operating, sending grey goods into countries and so on. This has nothing to do with the political agenda of those countries. It has to do with some level of cooperation at a particular level that we are having. We've had the same cooperation with the United States, and we have differences with the United States. The United States was supposed to have continued with the military maneuvers last year. They decided at the last minute they're not going to participate in that. So you can't sit down and not interact with the rest of the world because the United States is opposed to that.
Finally, perhaps, if we look at Trump's positions as we've discussed now, the post-World War II global order, that rule book being thrown out of the window, America's position, I want to argue, was always guaranteed not only by its military might, by its soft power and engagement around the world and the building of international institutions. Trump has upended all of that. Do we look at this moment as merely an aberration, or will the legacy and impact of Trump be with us long after he's gone?
Well, it's an aberration of international law, no doubt about it, but it did not start with Trump. If you remember, Bongani, Jake O'Sullivan, who was national security during the Biden administration, made an admission that there's some level of the U.S. muscles have atrophied. And I think this atrophy has really factored into the diplomatic muscle. The U.S. has relied more on brute force than soft power diplomacy, which requires persuasion. You will see with this withdrawal of Trump from many international organizations, it's because they can't persuade countries. They've lost their diplomatic mojo to be able to convince other countries to side with the United States. So that's something that has begun some time ago, but I'm afraid Trump has actually fast-tracked everything, and that's why we're seeing it so open, so overtly, and we can critically talk about it.
It's a brave new world. Appreciate your time as always, Dr. Kingsley Makubella, risk analyst, former diplomat, and public relations executive.
EWN Business.
Business news now. Muteo Khoripe joining us. Mining giants Rio Tinto and Glencore set for a possible merger. This is a big one.
A very big one. Bongani, Rio Tinto is in early discussions to purchase Glencore. The move could create the world's largest mining company with a combined market value of nearly $207 billion or 3.4 trillion rand. Now, the company said late last week that the expectation was it would involve an all-share buyout of some or all of Glencore by Rio Tinto. Global miners are racing to take up metal assets, including copper, said to benefit from the energy transition and artificial intelligence demand. Now, that has sparked a wave of project expansions and takeover attempts, including the pending merger of Anglo-American and Teck Resources to create a copper-focused industry heavyweight. The company said that there was no certainty on the terms of any of the deals or offer would be agreed on, and under UK takeover rules, Rio Tinto has until February the 5th to make a formal offer for Glencore or move on.
Discovery, discovering the letter U, a U-turn in those claims errors?
A relief for Discovery members in a dramatic about turn. The company Discovery Health has announced it will cover the costs of claims overpayments, remedying its year-long pharmacy medication claims funding error, resulting in the scheme paying more than 16,000 members more than what they were entitled to. Discovery Medical Aid members were initially told to fork out thousands of rands for an error in processing medicine claims for the entire of 2025, the average cost of which was around 20,000 rand. Now, the claims were initially processed between January and December of last year. Now, after pressure from members and protests at its offices in Sandton, Discovery has now decided to take up the bill.
All right, your indicators?
The rand at 16 rand 47 against the US dollar, still in the green this morning. 19 rand 20 against the euro, and at 22 rand 10 cents against the British pound. Price of gold up more than 1% at $4,569 an ounce, while platinum is up close to 4% now at $2,373. Brent crude at $63.41 a barrel. More business after 8.
Time now for Eyewitness News, brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rand. Let's start with Minister Dean McPherson's Fisa Zulu. What's he saying?
Well, the Public Enterprises Minister says he will continue to clamp down on misconduct as his department addresses procurement deficiencies. McPherson's tough talk on corruption and misconduct follows the decision to terminate the lease agreement with Medicare 24 Tshwane District linked to suspected criminal mastermind Vusmuzi Matla. This is in respect of a hospital facility in Pretoria West. The 2023 lease agreement was terminated on Friday. The termination of the lease agreement with Medicare 24 follows allegations that the company allegedly bypassed standard procurement processes to obtain the lease. McPherson says an investigation will now be launched to ensure that any officials who played a role in authorizing the lease are held accountable.
We are working decisively to rid the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure of any corruption or fees and abuse, and to ensure that it delivers meaningfully for the residents of South Africa, as well as to protect our state assets.
The Rustenburg local municipality has blamed its service delivery challenges to a lack of resources. This follows repeated concerns by residents about bad roads, persistent water and electricity outages, and poor maintenance of public spaces. Some residents have taken matters into their own hands in an attempt to fix their communities, including Utukile Mutswawedi, who says he spent his money transforming a neglected field into a park. Speaking on the sidelines of the ANC's birthday rally in the Northwest this weekend, Rustenburg Mayor Sheila Mabale Huma urged communities to continue playing their part.
And we're encouraging other community members to adopt a park, to take care of the parks that are around, to take care of what belongs to them, because as well as the municipality, we are also assisting, but with the little resources that we have, we are the heavy number of parks that we have to develop.
DA member and Rustenburg Ward 16 councillor Johan Krunier says residents are not getting value for the from the municipality for the rates and taxes they pay.
There's been a complete and utter failure on the municipality side in maintaining its green spaces, in maintaining roads, in maintaining stormwater. You've got civic organisations like Our Ward Matters that was established in Ward 17. They've been doing phenomenal work in my ward and across Rustenburg with cleaning and tidying up of areas. So the municipality is definitely failing in that instance.
And a Hong Kong court has started hearing sentencing arguments today for pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai, who was convicted of national security crimes that could land him in prison for life. Lai was found guilty on 2 counts of conspiracy to commit collusion last month under a sweeping national security law that was imposed by Beijing in 2020 after huge and sometimes violent pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. The 78-year-old media mogul was also convicted of publishing seditious articles through his now closed Apple Daily newspaper. Lai, a British citizen, and the UK government has condemned his politically motivated prosecution in an earlier statement calling for his release. Lawyers will address 3 High Court judges on how to punish Lai, starting with arguments scheduled for the next 4 days. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with showers expected today. The temperatures are at lows of 16 and 17 degrees, peaking at highs between 26 and 28.
Groenkloof heading into the Pretoria CBD. Expect heavy delays on the R21 northbound opposite the nature reserve. That's heading towards the Fountain Circle. It looks like there was an accident scene there. In Waterkloof, bumper traffic on the N1 southbound from Atterbury to the R21 Flying Saucer interchange, and in Whitfield. That's in the Boksburg area. Traffic pressure on Pretoria Road between Set Street and the N12.
The top story this hour, Public Enterprises Minister Dean McPherson says he will continue to clamp down on misconduct as his department addresses procurement deficiencies.
Wondering why 45-year-old Nuvan has such a big smile lately?
Outsurance. Saved me so much money. 461 rand.
That's right. With Outsurance, Nuvan saves an amazing 461 rand a month on his 2025 VWT Cross. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
So much money.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring APSA. Their CEO, Kenny Fihla, will be in conversation with me, Bongani Bingwa, and we do this on Wednesdays to highlight efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and together make a difference.
So, does your loan pay you back? With the Nedbank Personal Loan, you can cover education costs and get 200 Rand cash back every month when you open a My Goals Plus or Premium account with your loan. That's extra cash to help with life's monthly extras. Now that's a loan that pays you back. Visit nedbank.co.za or search Nedbank Personal Loans today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702. WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Bongani, Mantashe is not misquoted. We just heard it now on radio. He's not misquoted. He said it, we heard it. Right? You know, some people when they get rich, right, they think that those who are poor are lazy. We're not lazy. We are looking for jobs. There are no jobs in South Africa. Period. Taru from Deep Cliff, thank you.
Morning, Bongani. Bongani, yes, it's true. The national chairperson of the ANC has been misquoted. And I also want this expert to tell us of the 60% of the youth who are unemployed, how many percent is actually employable? Lastly, there's a lot of people that ask the wardens, how did they get that job? I mean, if there's one recruitment that was highly advertised, was the recruitment of wardens in Gauteng. But today people are still asking, how did you get this job?
Not sure I'm following your point entirely there. We played a clip earlier, of course. The ANC National Chair, Mantashe, coming under some criticism for blaming young people for being lazy and not applying for jobs. He made the point that no government department has ever sought to find a job for him, and so he doesn't understand quite why so many young people are unemployed. And I made the point that I don't think it's because they're sitting at home twiddling their thumbs, because there are all sorts of adverts for all kinds of posts available and they're simply choosing not to apply for them. It is a point as to whether or not our system of education equips young people to be able to go into the marketplace and be employable. Do they have the skills, in other words, that the market needs so they can get those jobs? But whose fault would that be? Right? Whose fault will that be? Would you then say it's fair to blame the young people who have come out of his system that you said would prepare them for the working environment if they find that they are not ready? Fikile Mbalula, the ANC's Secretary General, saying that that Mantashe was misquoted. So I played the clips for you there, and it's fairly easy to make up your own mind. We'll take more of your WhatsApps, 072 702 1702.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by OutSurance, a chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. So first 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then a little later 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. So SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask OutSurance for 500 Rand. Today's answer comes from Mandisi, who is in Port Elizabeth, or Gqeberha as we now say. Mandisi, please give us today's answer.
Good morning, Prabongs. Today's answer is Aliyah.
Aliyah is today's answer. Age ain't nothing but a number. Hey, Mandisi. Tell me, have you got yourself a quote from OutSurance?
Yes, I do, Prabong.
All right, how about 1,000 Rand in cash? All thanks to OutSurance and 702 coming your way. Stay on the line. The producers will get your details and we'll see how we can get that cash to you. All right, there you have it. Mandisi says the answer is Aliyah. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 8830 702.
EWN Sport.
18 minutes before 8 o'clock. Cindy Paluta in the house. Let's talk FA Cup action. It is just Yeah, I mean, it's a little sad on some level to see the decline of Manchester United. Or do you say football teams go through these cycles? Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and sometimes you're somewhere in between.
I think nostalgia can lead you to believe that a team is or should
meant to be there forever.
A lot better. I personally believe that Sir Alex Ferguson, yes, was really, really good at his job. There's no taking away from that. I also believe that he had a phenomenal crop of players, determined players that just actually ended up gelling well together. I think if you went and you bought the 11 best players in the world and you put them in a Manchester United jersey right now, it won't necessarily fix what's going on.
But also, I mean, how many coaches have they had since Ferguson?
Right.
That's the other thing. He was given the time and the space to build the team that became the Man United we remember.
In his first, actually, I mean, and it's very common knowledge, in his first season as coach, he was almost axed because they did so badly. So I think it's, for me personally, I think it's a general thing with footballing teams and sides. We're very quick to need results. Like a coach is just going to come in and miraculously make a difference. It's virtually impossible.
Yeah, it's taken Arteta, 6 seasons to get us Arsenal,
where
Arsenal,
we are? Yeah,
always going to try and insert that.
And yet he's still there, and yet he hasn't won a league.
There was a running joke over the December holidays on social media. People were asking for all sorts of things. Have you seen my Arsenal T-shirt? It's on top of the table.
Oh, it's too early. It's still too early.
Yeah.
Everyone's just shaking their heads because once you've been in the game and watched the game for so many years, you never call a season and get excited about a season until it's the day that when they win.
But typically they say whoever's leading at Christmas tends to win.
No, that's just my theory. They is me. The they that you're talking about is the you and me that we had the conversation in December, and I said to you, there's no other they. It's just me and my 9 personalities inside my head.
You see, Karabo, I do repeat these stories.
And then he says, they say. They.
All right, let's talk about it. Man United out of the FA Cup.
They are out of the FA Cup. And they lost 2-1 to Brighton. Brighton scored through Gruder and Welbeck. And you might say, oh, well, it's just the FA Cup. But the problem and everybody keeps highlighting, is that not since 1981 has United been knocked out of 2 domestic competitions so early, because they're also out of the Carabao Cup. They're condemned to, that means they're only going to play 40 games this season. That's the fewest games they've played since 1915. Stand-in coach Darren Fletcher.
We've got to face that, and we've got to deal with that. It's not Manchester United level or what's expected of Manchester United, but ultimately have to do something about that, and still not success, but take a step forward by qualifying for a champion. I keep repeating that, it sounds like a broken record, but there's still a lot to play for in the league this season, and Champions League places are important for a number of reasons that I don't need to go into, that you guys know.
So Darren Fletcher believes they can still finish top 4. Arsenal came from a goal-down to thrash Portsmouth 4-1. Martinelli with a hat-trick. The Gunners advance with West Ham, Leeds, Norwich, West Brom, Mansfield Town and Hull. Tonight, Liverpool plays Barnsley. Liverpool without defender Conor Bradley for the rest of the season after a bad knee injury suffered in the goalless game with Arsenal. In SA20 cricket, we're at the halfway stage. Last night, the Durban Super Giants beat Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 2 wickets, keeping their slim playoff hopes alive. They're in 5th place overall now. Today, Pretoria Capitals host bottom of the table, My Cape Town. In Investec Champions Cup Rugby, it was the Stormers' first loss of the competition, going down 61-10 to Harlequins, who now make the last 16. Stormers coach John Dobson.
Humiliating is the truth. Well, look, fair play to Quins. We know they got that game in them, and they're desperate backs against Well. They played superbly. I mean, we had a really good defence, and they opened us up well. Still probably expecting more from us. You know, that's a poor performance and a little bit embarrassing, to be honest.
Not a great weekend as the Bulls and Sharks lost as well. In stage 7 of the Dakar, South Africans Henk Lattergan and Brett Cummins finished in 13th. They had dominated for over 400 kilometres and looked set to reclaim the overall lead, but a damper issued caused by impact in the final kilometres forced them to limp to the finish, drops them to 4th overall, 7 minutes behind the leaders. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN
Traffic.
Right, let's catch up with the roads. 13 minutes to 8. Those delays in the Germiston area. How bad is that, Karabo?
Yeah, that's if you're leaving Germiston, Edenvale, heading towards Bedford View. Expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on the R24 N12 westbound between Croft Road and the Gilulis interchange. Leaving Germiston, heading towards Alex. Traffic remains sluggish on the N3 northbound from the Elands interchange to the Gilulis interchange. While in Randburg, we still have bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's if you're traveling between Roodepoort and Four Ways, N1 northbound from 14th Avenue all the way to Malibongwe Drive. And in Waterkloof, Pretoria, traffic is a bit sluggish. This is on the N1 southbound between Atterbury and the R21 Flying Saucer interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance. Please tell me, what's the question? If the answer is Leah, let's go to the phone lines. Who's number 7 there? Is it Sedzani in Limpopo? Sedzani, what's the question?
Which UK song topped the charts in 2022 before the woman?
You know what? It's the start of a new year. It's Happy New Year. I'll give it to you. It was 2002. Not quite 2022, Sedzani. It was 2002. The late Aaliyah topping the UK charts with More Than a Woman. Tragically, of course, just months after she had died in a plane crash in the Bahamas, traveling for a shoot for a music video. Her life was cut short, but her influence lives on. And thanks to all of that, Sedzani, you walk away with 2,000 Rand in cash. All thanks to Outsurance in 702.
Thank you.
Hippie! Aaliyah's More Than a Woman, topping the UK charts in 2002. Topping the charts on this day in 2002 in the UK, Aaliyah. Now, you may be paying more for medical aid, but with Outsurance, you could be saving on your car insurance. Like 27-year-old Liam, who saves an awesome 640 Rand on his 2020 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask them for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
You've heard the songs, but until you've seen it live, you haven't experienced the magic of cats. Coming to Monte Casino from 17 January until 22 February, it's the memory shared by millions. Book now at Web Tickets. Brought to you by Peter Turin and GWB Entertainment.
Rafik, a 40-year-old Outsurance client, knows all about saving on car insurance.
Outsurance, they're actually giving something back to you. Being with them, I've saved so much money. 899. That's not small change. It's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
An incredible 899 Rand monthly saving on Rafik's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. 35-year-old Zanai saves 1,180 Rand a month on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 Rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Ready to get more out? SMS out to 45142. Enjoy benefits like panic assistance, which sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you are. Get a quote now and see how much Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online. Limits apply.
Infrastructure, capital, industrial renewal. This Wednesday, Nedbank CIB joins Clement Manyathela for a conversation on unlocking South Africa's economic potential through strategic infrastructure investment. How do we mobilize capital at scale? What role do credible partnerships play in turning infrastructure projects into industrial renewal? From energy and logistics to bankable projects that rebuild confidence. It's a discussion focused on execution, not ambition. Don't miss this crucial discussion on the Clement Manyathela Show, Wednesday, 14 January, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on 702.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Bongani, our economy is dwindling. And Egwede Mantashe, the chairperson, the national chairperson, has a silver platter on both his hands. That is why he speaks as if he's gliding down the mountain.
Good morning, Brabongs. Good morning. No, I think the old man has lost the plot. He has lost the plot, Mr. Mantashe. I don't know, maybe lost it a long time ago. But what he's talking about the youth, about not getting jobs, he's sitting there, he needs to go and retire and let the youth take over his position.
Perhaps just to give a little context to anyone who's joining us now who may have missed us playing that clip of an interview the national chair of the ANC gave to the SABC in the run-up, of course, to the Jan 8 celebrations in Rustenburg over the weekend. Gwede Mantashe explaining that young people who are unemployed perhaps only have themselves to blame. They should be out there looking for jobs. Nobody has ever looked for a job for him, so he doesn't quite understand why it is so many young people today are unemployed. It was very easy in his day. He simply went to Deba, which was, how would I explain Deba? They had these big offices. I remember them, Mtata, and it was essentially a recruitment agency. Perhaps that's what we would call it, right? For mine workers to go work in the mines back in the day, as the young people say. It was very easy for him. He went to Deba. If he could do that in those days, why can't people who are young today find themselves jobs, he wants to know.
I've never had a government looking for a job for me. You know that? Never. I went to Deba, took a contract, went to the mines, worked as a miner, went back home, bought cattle, bought sheep, went back to the mines, and I did that. The difference is that today, because there's a progressive government, people expect that government to go and give them jobs. They don't look for jobs. And that must change. I'm sure to be here in SABC yourself, you look for an advert, you applied, you got into SABC. Not the SAB looking for you. You looked for a job and you got employed. And people must begin to appreciate that you do queue up for a job, you get employed. Adverts are not going to employ you. You'll have to look for the advert and apply in
One of the questions I've been asking this morning is, do you think the ANC is simply running out of ideas? I posed that question to the political analyst Lukhona Mnguni, whom we spoke to just before 7 o'clock. I've bothered to go through the January 8th statement as released in 2026, and I even compared it to the one released in 2025. And it's extraordinary to see how much the 6 priorities are a copy and paste of each other. The wording is changed here or there and the order, but essentially the same 6 priorities they gave us last year are the same ones they are focusing on this year. And you have to wonder if they're running out of ideas. An idea that they're bringing forward once more, and this was a big one for the EFF. It was one of Floyd Chivambu's big ideas when he was in the EFF, the idea of a sovereign wealth fund. The former Deputy President, Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, has also said perhaps this is something we should consider. You'll know, of course, this is all about a country having surplus revenues, which you would typically generate from resource exports, you are talking about a country that has a surplus. We're not quite in that scenario as South Africa. So you sort of wonder where this new thinking is coming from. Our fiscal position would make it, I think, quite a challenge, but something that the president is also expressing some support for, the idea of establishing a sovereign wealth fund to preserve and grow our national wealth. As I say, with substantial budget deficits and significant debt, it may be something that's a little difficult for us to achieve. After 8 o'clock, I'll play you some clips of the former Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka weighing in on this idea of a sovereign wealth fund. Is it something that is suitable for South Africa? Or is it your sense that they're just kind of throwing different ideas into the pot, hoping something will take?
702.
702.
Feedback with Baphelile Sambo.
Baphelile Sambo.
How are you, Bongani
I'm
Bingwa?
very well. I have to say,
Yes.
you're one of the team members who's not always with us when you celebrate your birthday.
I know.
Which you celebrated
I know.
as
And
December
I am
ended.
So offended. Can I just tell 702 lenders that Bongani didn't wish me a happy birthday on my birthday on the 27th of December? And I'm still offended.
And you know why.
I know.
You know
You did
why.
explain yourself, and
You
he's
know
been
why.
explaining himself.
What feedback do you have? So I'm wishing you happy birthday on air. How's
Thank you.
that?
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yes, there we go.
It's actually the best one now. Because
you
it's,
see.
You know what? Thank you, Bongani. I appreciate it. A happy new year to all the 702 lenders. Happy. I just wanted to wish them that. And I think the cutoff is on Wednesday for us to start wishing
after
happy.
today, we're done.
Oh, okay. After today, we're done.
Yeah, no.
But other than that, 702 lenders are unhappy with Minister Mantashe's lazy youth comments, with the unemployment rate at 31.9 and the youth unemployment rate at 58.5%. They say young people are not picky. They are just desperate for work and will take any opportunity they can get. Sabelo on WhatsApp feels that the remarks came from a place of privilege and show that the ANC is completely out of touch and has lost the plot. It exactly stems from everything that the voice note we've been getting and how the ANC is sounding like a broken record.
I asked, who is that broken record in your life? That person who repeats the same thing over and over and over again, telling the same story, hoping it will sound different this time. What else you got?
Outside the Matric results that are coming in, parents are feeling the pressure when it comes to the stationery list that is sent by schools. They are questioning some of the items requested. There's a 702 lenders asking if a 2-ply toilet paper and a hand wash bottles are really necessary, or they are just adding extra costs to already the
Yeah, let's
cost of
talk
living that
about
we
that.
have.
What are those additional things that your school is asking you to provide for your little bundle of joy? I remember we used to get asked for all sorts of things.
We never
including
got asked.
After COVID, we had to provide masks, we had to provide sanitizers, we had to provide boxes of tissues, 2-ply toilet paper. Now, if you're in a no-fee paying school, those extras add up. The story the Sowetan is running this morning, and they're saying many families are feeling under pressure as they're expected to provide all these additional items on top of the already expensive stationery. Have you been asked odd things that you perhaps think are a little over the top? Do let us know. By the way, Kabazela still on holiday, probably sipping a pink drink with an umbrella somewhere. That's why we didn't have What's Gone Viral, but he will return one of these days. Happy New Year to you, Kabazel.
This is EWN.
The IEB class of 2025 results are out, and the DA wants access to access the report for the NDPP interviews. Good morning, I am Sfiso Zulu. The Independent Examinations Board has announced a 98.3 overall matric pass rate. The IEB is an independent assessment body that offers exams for IEB registered schools in line with the curriculum standards set by the Department of Basic Education. More than 16,000 full-time candidates wrote the IEB NSC examinations in October and November last year. Meanwhile, Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube is later expected to announce the results for the National Senior Certificate exam.
I want to say to you, congratulations for coming this far, for your discipline, for your effort, for your resilience. You ought to be so proud of yourself. And to those who may not have achieved the results that they are hoping for, I want to remind you, this is not the end of the road or the journey for you. You can try again, and there are multiple opportunities for you to be able to do that.
The DA has filed a Promotion of Access to Information Act application to force President Cyril Ramaphosa to release the report into the National Director of Public Prosecution selection process. Last week, Ramaphosa unexpectedly appointed Advocate Andy Mutibi, the head of the Special Investigating Unit, as NDPP. This follows recommendations presented by an advisory panel who led interviews of 6 shortlisted candidates for the NDPP role. According to Ramaphosa's office, the panel presented a report to the president recommending that none of the shortlisted candidates were suitable for the role. Oren Singh reports.
Advocate Andy Mutibi is set to replace Shamila Batoy, whose term comes to an end at the end of this month. DA spokesperson on Justice and Constitutional Development, Advocate Glenys Breitenbach, says South Africans are entitled to see the NDPP advisory panel report. Breitenbach says Ramaphosa cannot exercise such sweeping constitutional powers behind a veil of secrecy.
This position undermines transparency in a process that was already marred by delays, an ill-equipped panel, and a failure to properly discharge its mandate. The National Director of Public Prosecutions is a very, very important position, and South Africans are entitled to know how he arrived at the decision to appoint Mr. Mutibi.
Last week, Ramaphosa's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, confirmed the report would not be made public. Oren Singh, Eyewitness News.
The ANC is now shifting its attention to preparations for the upcoming local government elections as it sets its sights to regain support in municipalities where the party has lost support. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on members to actively campaign for the party ahead of the municipal elections. Ramaphosa issued the instruction during the ANC's 114th birthday rally at Moruleng Stadium just outside Rustenburg in the northwest at the weekend. Alfara Mushwana was there.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has outlined key 6 priorities the party must focus on this year, both internally and within government. These include fixing local government, tackling crime, driving economic transformation and strengthening organizational renewal. However, the party acknowledges a growing trust deficit among voters and a decline in public confidence. Ramaphosa has called on all ANC members not to fold their arms.
We want to make it clear all ANC members will be required as per the Constitution to campaign for ANC victory in the forthcoming local government elections.
The municipal elections are expected to take place in November or before the end of the January 2027 deadline. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in the Northwest.
And the U.S. Homeland Security says it is sending more agents to Minneapolis after a protester was killed by an agent. Renee Good was shot by an officer last week, and her death has sparked renewed protests nationwide against President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Footage shows the officer opening fire at Good's car after she was accused of attempting to ram officers. U.S. Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem has defended the actions of the officer during an interview on CNN.
How can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle, she weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
Gold is trading at $4,580.63 an ounce. The rand is at 16.47 to the dollar, 22.13 to the pound, 19.22 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $63.44 a barrel.
Germiston, Edenville area heading towards Bedford View can still expect about a 20-minute delay on the N12 westbound between Croft Road and the Kilulis interchange. Also leaving Germiston, heading towards Alex. Traffic remains sluggish on the N3 northbound from the Ilan interchange to Kilulis.
And in your sport, SA
T20 action continues this evening with the Pretoria Capitals hosting my Cape Town. Manchester United are out of the FA Cup as Brighton, Arsenal, West Ham and Leeds have all advanced. All three South African sides lost in the Champions Cup rugby. And at the Dakar, Henk Latagang and Brett Cummins dropped to fourth in the overall standings after a breakdown on stage 7.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Independent Examinations Board has announced a 98.3% overall matric pass rate.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock, you are listening to 702 Breakfast with me, Bongani Bingwa. My hearty thanks once again to Ray White, who has been sitting in the chair for the last couple of weeks as we were on holiday. We've made a team decision. Happy New Year will only be for today. So Happy New Year, compliments of the season, etc., 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 all protocol observed. Our big interview this morning was with Dr. Kingsley Makubella. We're looking at the international affairs in the world in which we are entering in 2026. Already this year, the US has attacked Venezuela, kidnapped its sitting head of state, Nicolas Maduro. I was perhaps a little hyperbolic in one of my WhatsApp groups where I said, I don't care if they were engaging in child sacrifice. You don't remove a head of state because you don't like what he is doing in his own country. We first heard that he was the head of a narco-terrorist state. Now, the venal Donald Trump making it very clear that his interest is in fact only in the oil, which is going to be a significant challenge to get out of the ground. He said following the invasion that he'd consulted the oil companies. It now turns out he did not. The New York Times reporting, according to Rachel Maddow, that he actually only spoke to them afterwards. And they've got to put in millions, billions of dollars in investment to be able to extract that oil out with guarantees they're going to get their money out. Do you think they're going to bite? Doesn't appear so.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The other issue, of course, is Venezuela has been facing its own electricity challenges, its grid. That's one of the other things you need to be able to do to have the oil come out of the ground. It's not packed away in these nice wooden barrels ready to be shipped overseas. So it's an increasingly uncertain world as Donald Trump also goes after the Fed. Now, Muteo Kharipe, you and I have followed these kinds of stories for some time. You remember our conversations when Turkey was going through something similar. How significant is it when an administration goes after the governor of a central bank?
International investors often view that kind of attack on an independent central bank as instability in the country. A lot of central banks are seen as independent in managing the affairs of the country when it comes to interest rates or even protecting the currency of that particular country. Now, the main clash between Jerome Powell and President Donald Trump has been that Jerome Powell is not cutting rates fast enough. Now, why does President Donald Trump want him to do that? So there's easier money in the economy. People can borrow more. There's more spending. The economy looks like it's in good health. Of course, because of his own policies last year, the U.S. economy has suffered a lot. In fact, on Friday, jobs numbers were quite low as well in the U.S. So he needs those cuts so people can start spending again.
Because, as far as I'm concerned, I understand now that even some of the farmers are beginning to sue the government as far as the losses they are suffering as a result of these tariff wars.
Yeah, if tariffs are higher, people look for new markets. South Africa did the same. People will just look for where things are cheaper. And he's made things quite expensive for Americans, both business as well as residents as well.
We made a cheesy joke, of course, as the rand started strengthening towards the end of last year. And I said it should be at 16.52 by April. it's already surpassed that. Where's that sitting at the moment?
It was actually 1653 on the 31st of December. So you were quite close. You were quite
You
close.
thought of me.
1647 today, still quite strong against the US dollar. The US dollar has taken a pounding in 2025, down 10% because of those tariff policies, a lot of uncertainty coming out of the US. So a lot of investors are looking for assets where there'd be more returns, and the US is not currently that place. There's a lot of instability and a lot of things that people are unsure about. Now, the latest thing with the central bank will definitely add more pain to the dollar.
And once again, he's using a ruse to go after Jerome Powell. So he's not saying go after him for not lowering interest rates. He's trying to make a fuss about these renovations that he complained about previously. This morning, our time, Jerome Powell saying that the Justice Department has now served the Fed with subpoenas.
Criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
We are also asking the question about the ANC and ideas. Now I want you to listen, as promised, the former Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka weighing in on the idea of creating a sovereign wealth fund for South Africa. I did mention this was one of Floyd Shivambu's big ideas when he was in the EFF, something that seems to be gaining some traction, but given our fiscal position and the surpluses we don't have, one wonders whether or not it is indeed a viable idea.
The one thing about sovereign fund, you need political decisiveness. Countries, again, that have started a sovereign wealth fund, even in times when they had a debt that is much more complicated than ours, they were able to pull through because of political decisiveness. So you are not successful in a country just because you've got the resources. Those resources must be matched by political decisiveness. You must also make sure that you have ring-fenced your fund so that it cannot be touched for anything other than what it was set up to do. Okay? So I'm saying this because in the case of South Africa, we obviously have a concern that we have a deficit, and this is what we have to focus on and address.
Are we in such a position, Matteo Haripe, that a sovereign wealth fund, because yes, she makes an excellent point that countries with far worse debt scenarios than we are facing have been able to do this. But again, that big word, surpluses, resources, all of those mattered.
Political decisiveness. I don't think South Africa is in that position because, of course, that kind of account is almost like a venture capital account where government can use the money to run certain projects. We don't have the budget surplus. In fact, we're not running at a surplus at the moment. We're scrambling for the money and putting SARS under pressure to find it. I mean, if you look at the GFECRA account that South Africa has, I mean, Treasury went back to GFECRA to try and balance its own budget. The Gold and Foreign Exchange Contingency Reserve account is something that we do have in reserve. I think 500 billion at the moment. We have the PIC as well, which is already a funder of government. So some people might even say, a sovereign account would be redundant because we already have institutions that can give us that money. But as you say, no surplus to speak of. We're not in a position to fund ourselves.
And the ring fencing, as she says there, because you talk about the PIC, where's their chief investment officer at the moment?
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Woohoo! Happy Monday. Welcome back, Bongos. Ngwaromoswa. We really missed you. I'm following you, so I see all those moves there by Instagram. Keep them going, the energy, the positivity. And of course, thank you to Ray White for being with us while you were busy enjoying your holidays, Mr. Bingwa. Have a great week, guys. Thanks. Great show. Shadi, Kempton Park.
Good morning, Bongani. In South Africa, it's very difficult to get employed. I've got your National Diploma Management, BTech Business Administration, Postgraduate Diploma Risk Management, BCom Honors Financial Management. Experience is there, yet I can't get employed, Bongani. It's so sad that I even applied for the jobs that I overqualified for, the one that they just need a matric and no experience, yet you don't get called. Even sometimes you qualify for those opportunities, but you didn't get called. So it's very sad. I apply each and every day of my life, Bongani. I'm almost on my 40s. It's very frustrating, trust me. Thank you.
Happy New Year, 702 lenders. Mr. Bongani, I think Gwede Mantashe has been very reckless with his statements that youth don't want to work, we are lazy and stuff. If I can give you a proof that last year alone, 2025, I have more than 500 applications on government jobs. More than 500 applications that I did. And none of them, I never got a call, never got a missed call, never got a message to say I should come for an interview or I should come for a training or whatever. The only thing that I got was the auto reply after you have finished your application, and then you get that SMS to say that you have applied. That's the only thing. Last one here.
Hi, Bongani. So maybe they are repeating their priorities because they realize they haven't achieved them. What are the chances?
Hi, good morning, Bongani. The team, Sam here from Joburg. Now, my thinking is all along whether Mantashe had that mentality of saying that people are expecting government to give them jobs. That is why youth are not getting jobs, because of these old people that are occupying this position in government. That has got the mentality like the one that Gwede Mantashe has. He has to step down. Thanks, Sam from Joburg.
It must be particularly stinging. I mean, some of those voice notes, and keep them coming, we appreciate them. I'm particularly touched by the idea of you're approaching your 40s, right? You've got some qualifications. You're going through application after application. Each letter that comes in your inbox says, we regret to inform you. We regret to inform you. Maybe you've got a toddler, right? Because life carries on, does it not? You've got to ask for 30 rand to go get a haircut at the local taxi rank, maybe. A shave, because maybe now finally you have an interview somewhere. Because if you ask for the money for the machine to shave or cut your own hair, that's probably going to be too much. That's what, 300 rand?
Money for data.
For roll on.
Money to make copies.
For roll on.
Guys.
Right? And there you have this minister who is set for life, who's got a government pension, who's the chair of the largest party, saying, you don't have a job because you're simply not applying for one.
Yo, Bonganini, let me tell you something. I work at a filling station, Labaraj filling station, but it's about 50 kilometers from the nearest city. So a lot of villages around. And every time we advertise for a position, we get up to 500 to 1,000 CVs. So don't tell me people aren't looking for a job. They are desperate for a job, but jobs is scarce. From Rustenburg.
Good morning, Bongani and the team. It's unfortunate, it's regrettable that we have put these people into power, whether it's arrogant in any way. And I think he meant what he said. He think we are lazy, we are stupid. He got the job because he's been put in as minister, I don't know for how long. So he's got the arrogance of talking to us like that. And like I said, it's regrettable. Look, even if the stadium was not as full as it should be, but people still go behind them. My God. That's Madimo.
Morning, Bongles. It's astounding. The ANC are responsible for the economic policies that are impeding the growth in South Africa. But they won't accept responsibility for that. Our policies are not conducive for international investors to come and invest in this country. We've gone from the cheapest country in the world in terms of electricity to the most expensive. Our roads were once world-class. They are non-existent anymore. Everything is becoming dysfunctional in this country. And thanks to 31 years of not doing maintenance, not building dams, not doing anything, and then going, why is everything not working? Really? ANC, catch a wake up. You need to go and, you need to go lalapanzi. Go and rest. You're no good.
A friend of mine made a comment over the holidays, and I'd be keen to hear from anyone who's traveled across the country over the festive period. Maybe you went back to Limpopo or the Eastern Cape or KZN. What was the state of the infrastructure as you leave the major cities, as you go through the small towns, as you use the more rural roads? What was the state of the infrastructure? Do you get a sense that things are being looked after, the infrastructure, the roads, for example, are safe to drive on? Somebody sent me a video of a road in Mpumalanga as you approach Hazy View, and it's a sharp corner, it's a sharp turn, and the road has all but collapsed. And the particular video that I was sent, it was very misty. And if you drive around that bend at night, you're a goner. You're an absolute goner. And the comment that I've been hearing from, anecdotally, from friends is that as you leave Johannesburg and the big metros, some of the road infrastructure, we're not talking, of course, of the roads SANRAL is responsible for, the highways, the N3s and the N2s and the like. But as you go towards the smaller rural areas and the smaller towns, the potholes, the state of the roads is a shocker. And that's exactly what the ANC experienced in Rustenburg, because part of their excuse was that many of their supporters were stuck in traffic on single lane roads that also had some difficulties. You would have thought that in an election year where you want to focus on your ability to lead local governments, you would choose a venue that would be accessible, that would show that you are in fact able to run municipalities. It seems a no-brainer to me, but what do I know? I'm just a talk show host.
EWN Traffic.
24 after 8, let's catch up with the roads. Talking about roads, delays in Germiston. Still, Karabo?
Yeah, no, we can expect about a 20-minute delay. That's leaving the Germiston-Edenville area, heading towards Bedford View on the N12 westbound from Croft Road all the way to the Kilulis interchange. Also heading into the Joburg CBD. Traffic a bit sluggish coming from the Germiston area. That's the M2 westbound from Heidelberg Road to the Crown Interchange, Boysons. There's slow-moving traffic as well on the M1 northbound. That's between Boysons Road and the Crown Interchange in the city of Tshwane. In Kilner Park, slow-moving traffic on Niku Smith. That's between CR Swart and Stead Avenue. And in Irene, traffic remains sluggish. This is on Nelmay Pierce Drive, approaching Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702, The World View
with Adam Gilchrist.
Catch up with news from elsewhere in the world. Very good morning to you, Adam. Our first dance this year. Let's start with Iran. Mega protests there. Will the Islamic regime finally be toppled, or is it more of the same we've seen before?
Morning. Yeah. Happy New Year, by the way. Unhappy New Year, I guess, in Iran. Yeah. Will the regime be toppled? There are certainly some calling for regime change from within. The protests are not specifically regime change orientated, but they're certainly coming around to that way of thinking. Most people are just unhappy with their lot. The economy of Iran has plummeted, 40% inflation, etc. So here we have a wave of protests. I was talking about this last week as well, but it really has ratcheted up now. So well over 100 cities and towns. It is thought as many as 500 people may have been killed by the security forces in the crackdown on the civilian protests. It is also thought 10,000 people have been arrested. Overnight, we've now had Donald Trump again on Air Force One. He likes to do this sort of half in, half out kind of press conference on board his aeroplane. And he told us that all options are on the table, that essentially these leaders must must not even think about violently suppressing protesters, and he's threatened military action again, whilst Tehran has threatened military action back, saying it is the US and Israel who are orchestrating some of the protests. What happens next is the question, and there is a scary answer along with some calmer answers as well.
Let's stay with that part of the world and perhaps more scary news. What's happening in Syria, Adam?
Well, I don't know if it isn't actually quite good news. Fingers crossed, touch wood, get out the rabbit's foot, because we have some sort of a peace agreement between the Kurdish fighters and the government. The leader of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, Mazloum Abdi, says that an evacuation from the city of Aleppo has been guaranteed. We've already seen some Kurds leaving the city of Sheikh Maksud on buses. So this is an agreement. Actually, they came to a kind of ceasefire agreement and an ultimate peace deal a week ago. Then fighting broke out. 12 people were killed in the interim. The stalemate and violence sparked some more talks. And it does look like, again, touching that wood, that there is, for the moment, a ceasefire, that the Kurds of the SDF have got this agreement that they will be integrated into all military and civilian institutions inside the Syrian state, something that didn't happen when Iraq broke up after Saddam Hussein. And there were all sorts of disaffected Sunni Muslims and police and army and you name it. So it is important that once you end a civil war, you have to include others. Otherwise, it all goes to pot. So maybe, fingers crossed, this is a good thing. Maybe.
And Adam, it was in 1938 that writer Jerry Siegel and artist Joe Shuster first introduced us to Superman.
Yeah, the first Superman comic sold as Superman, with one or two other stories in there as well. It was dated April the 18th, 1938, although actually it says on the comic June 1938, because they do that in the comic world. They sort of mislead you, telling you it's a summer edition when you're still in spring or whatever. So here we have a 10-cent copy of the very first Superman. It's thought there are about 50 of these in the world. One of these is now sold at auction in America for $15 million. One of the things about this, though, is that this particular Superman comic was stolen from Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is a bit of a comic book fan. He loves that stuff. He bought it himself for $150,000. It was stolen when he had a party. I wonder if he ever put the finger of blame on one of his guests. So you'd think he probably would. And it was stolen during a party, went missing for 11 years, finally turned up in a lockup. Nicolas Cage then thought, you know what, this is too much of a target. So he sold it himself for $2 million, which is an enormous markup. But here we are now, several years later, $15 million for a 10-cent copy of Superman has gone to an anonymous collector. Is there anything in the world right now you could buy for as little as that and make that kind of money on? Whatever it is, we probably don't know what it is.
From 10 cents to $15 million. I wonder if Nicolas Cage thinks he should maybe have hung on to it for a little longer. Adam Gilchrist and this morning's Worldview.
EWN Business.
Well, it's one of the big stories emerging from the US at the moment. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, now facing a criminal investigation, and he says it's a vendetta by the president.
Yeah, the federal criminal investigation is related to the $2.5 billion renovation of the central bank's headquarters and the congressional testimony Powell made about the matter last year. Now, Jerome Powell, however, says the probe is the result of the Fed setting interest rates based on its own assessment of what will serve the American public, rather than following the preferences of President Donald Trump. Now, President Donald Trump has been at loggerheads with the central bank chief since starting his second presidency. At one point, he called Powell a loser who was slowing down the U.S. economy's recovery by being stubborn on rate cuts. Despite the political pressure, the Fed has been taking a wait-and-see approach, which seemed reasonable given the contradictory implications of Trump's tariff policies last year. Now, tariffs have raised prices in the U.S., and the Fed's usual response to inflation is to raise interest rates. But last month, the Fed made its third interest rate cut, despite inflation remaining above its 2% target.
Now, could we see the world's largest mining company?
Yeah,
a new one at least?
Rio Tinto are set to take over that major mining takeover set to happen there, and it's one that will change the world of mining if it does happen. Rio Tinto in discussions to purchase Glencore. The move could create the world's largest mining company with a combined market value of $207 billion or 3.4 trillion rand. Now, the company said late last week that the expectation was it would involve an all-share buyout of some or all of Glencore by Rio Tinto. That has sparked a wave of project expansions in the mining sector. Global miners are racing to take up metal assets, including copper, to benefit from the energy transition and AI machine demand that we're currently seeing in the market. Now, under UK takeover rules, Rio Tinto has until February the 5th to make a formal offer for Glencore.
Your indicators?
The rand at 16 rand 44. Now, here's something interesting. In April last year, the dollar was quite strong. With the rand at 19 rand 93 against the dollar.
Yes, it was almost 20.
And it was the tariffs. Everything around that time was happening then, but things have unraveled since, and the rand has gotten stronger. Now it's 16.44 against the US
So they've almost gained 3 rand 50.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
19 rand 20 against the euro, 22 rand 8 cents against the British pound. Price of gold $4,572 an ounce. Platinum at $2,390, while Brent crude is at $63.45 a barrel. Stephen Grotes with more this afternoon.
May pain you to know, Muteo, the first time I went to the US, 1995, the rand dollar exchange was around 350.
Oh my word.
Spencer Zulu, what you got?
Thanks, Marley. Good morning. As schools prepare to reopen this week, the Gauteng Department of Transport and Roads has issued a stern warning to scholar transport operators about flouting regulations. The department says it won't tolerate unroadworthy vehicles on the roads and drivers operating without a valid permit. Spokesperson Lisibampia says safety remains a key priority with an intensified law enforcement operation expected across Gauteng.
MEC Kiribonedi Aletlabela does also insist that there should be a pattern of acceptable driver behavior on our roads over and above the fact that their vehicles have got to be compliant.
Professor and Dean of the Education Faculty at Stellenbosch University, Mbulu Madiba, says more needs to be done to address the national skills shortage as the country's tertiary institutions prepare to open their doors for the 2026 academic year. South Africa's technical and vocational education and training sector faces criticism that its curricula is lagging behind, making it more difficult to keep up with the labour market. The issue has been made worse by a lack of qualified staff and funding constraints at some TVET colleges. Madiba says there needs to be a collaborative effort with corporate South Africa to ensure courses offered at TVET colleges meet the labour sector demands.
I'm very nervous for the upcoming results. However, I know that my commitment and dedication, as well as my hard work towards my studies, will definitely show in my results, but the nerves are still very much there.
Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson says he will continue to clamp down on misconduct as his department addresses procurement deficiencies. McPherson's tough talk on corruption and misconduct follows the decision to terminate the lease agreement with Medicare 24 Tshwane District linked to suspected criminal mastermind Vusmuzi Matala. This is in respect of a hospital facility in Pretoria West. The 2023 lease agreement was terminated on Friday. The termination of the lease agreement with Medicare 24 follows allegations that the company allegedly bypassed standard procurement processes to obtain the lease. McPherson says an investigation will now be launched to ensure that any officials who played a role in authorizing the lease are held accountable.
We are working decisively to rid the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure of any corruption or malfeas and abuse, and to ensure that it delivers meaningfully for the residents of South Africa, as well as to protect our state assets.
And Sudan's military-led government has returned to the country's capital after nearly 3 years of operating from its wartime base in the eastern city of Port Sudan. Sudan's Prime Minister Kamil Idris told the reporters yesterday that the government of hope was officially back in Khartoum and will begin efforts to improve services. The military was forced out by the paramilitary Rapid Support Force forces when the civil war erupted between the two sides in 2023. The army recaptured it in a significant breakthrough last March. Khartoum has been recovering from years of fighting, and about 5 million people fled the city at the height of the conflict. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. The temperatures will peak at highs between 26 and 28.
Heading into the Joburg CBD, this is coming from the Germiston area. Traffic remains sluggish. M2 westbound from Heidelberg Road to the Crown Interchange. There's also slow-moving traffic in Boysens. M1 north from Boysens Road to the Crown Interchange.
The top story this hour, as schools prepare to reopen this week, the Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport has issued a stern warning to scholar transport operators about flouting regulations.
Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a guaranteed premium for 12 months even if you claim? For electrical, tradesman services and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
This festive, turn your family meetings into family eatings with the Nando's Festive Fill-Up Meal. A full flame grilled chicken, 2 sharing sides, 4 cheesy rissoles, 2 Cabo Societies, 2 Nando's rolls, and a 1.5-liter Coca-Cola for only $3.99 to enjoy at your place. And if your family meeting is at our place, get 40 Rand off. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
Infrastructure, capital, industrial renewal. This Wednesday, Nedbank CIB joins Clement Manyathela for a conversation on unlocking South Africa's economic potential through strategic infrastructure investment. How do we mobilize capital at scale? What role do credible partnerships play in turning infrastructure projects into industrial renewal? From energy and logistics to bankable projects that rebuild confidence. It's a discussion focused on execution, not ambition. Don't miss this crucial discussion on the Clement Manyathela Show, Wednesday, 14 January, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on 702.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
My name is Bongani and the team. Happy New Year. It is interesting how suddenly people who are spending over 500,000 rand daily on alcohol are suddenly complaining about stationery on their children's future. Whether it's detergent, whether it's whatever, they should have to buy. We want the children to live in a hygienic place. The same way they were buying expensive alcohol, they must buy stationery. Thank you.
Bongani, this thing of telling the same story and people are telling you that you've been telling this story over and over again. I get reminded of what you are saying about the Happy New Year. Every year, same question. When is Happy New Year ending? Where do we stop saying Happy New Year? Bongani, simple as ABC. It's up to an individual. There's no script about it. There's no constitution about it. If somebody wants to say Happy New Year until April, let them be. We've been asking this question over and over again. In simple terms, I'm saying this story has been told before. Sindile.
Morning, Bongs and 702 listeners. This guy, Trump, now we are neighbors, man. He wants to die with us. He's old, he spent his life, we still want to live at least more 20 years. This guy wants to die with us. We're still young, but come on, Trump. This is going to cause a very big war, I'm telling you.
I asked the question a little earlier on, who's the broken record in your family, or are you that person in your life? And I made the point that I'm often interrupted by members of my household because I've told the same story so many times. And in the midst of my excitement to tell it one more time, I get these knowing looks that, oh gosh, here he goes again. And of course, it all comes in the context of the ANC's Jan 8 statement that's come out in 2025. And the priorities for both years are more or less the same, copy and paste. And one of the things I was asking is, do you feel that the party is running out of ideas? The first voice note we played there, a little unsympathetic perhaps to those parents who are complaining of the additional items they have to provide for their little ones, particularly in no-fee paying schools. I'm not quite sure that you can make the assumption that it's because they were buying alcohol in December and that's why they now can't afford all the additional items the schools are requiring for their little ones. I thought that was a little unsympathetic. But keep those voice notes coming. 072 702 1702.
EWN Sport.
All right, Cindy Paluta back in the studio with sporting news. We've been speaking a lot of football, but the SA20 is also underway.
It's really been a fantastic tournament this year. I mean, I tried to book tickets for this Saturday at the Wanderers. There's a group of about 10 or 12 of us that like to go watch live sport. And it's all, you can't find seats. It's absolutely incredible. And it's not international. It's just the Joburg Super Kings hosting the Pretoria Capitals at the Wanderers this Saturday. So every time you turn on the TV and you watch SA20, it's just so awesome to see all the stadiums, not just the Wanderers, but just filled up with people. And I think that it's been one of their most successful ones. And that's season 4, by the way, in case you're watching it.
And it's lovely. It's lovely to see those stadiums full. A purist like me, of course, thinks, the tide is going to go towards T20 as a format for cricket in general, that the longer versions of the game perhaps are not going to be around for very much longer. But
I would disagree.
Is what it is. Yeah?
I would disagree, given the last year that that Test cricket has had, and given the Proteas doing absolutely phenomenally in the Test Championship. I think there's been a slight rebirth. And we've discussed this before. Cricket South Africa will now have to try and get that younger audience in, because kids today don't want to sit in field for 5 hours.
Oh, no. I love Test cricket. I think it's doing as well as it ever has in terms of the spectacle it provides. But in terms of the support and the crowds.
To get people to watch.
All of that. I mean, the SA20 season that you are describing is indicative
really
that that's where the tide is going, much as I love the longer version of the game.
Yeah. So anyway, later today in Centurion, the Pretoria Capitals are hosting bottom of the table My Cape Town. Last night, Durban Super Giants beat Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 2 wickets. That keeps their slim hopes alive of making the playoffs. Player of the match there was captain of the losing side, Tristan Stubbs, making 47 from 30. Internationally, India beat New Zealand by 4 wickets in a first ODI. Kohli making 93 from 91, helping India chase down 301 with an over to spare. In the FA Cup, Liverpool in action tonight. They're playing Barnsley. The Reds don't have injured defender Conor Bradley for the rest of the season. They'll be hoping to join West Ham, Leeds, Norwich, West Brom, Mansfield Town, Hull and Arsenal in the 4th round. The Gunners advanced after coming from a goal down to beat Portsmouth 4-1. Not in the 4th round, Manchester United, they lost 2-1 to Brighton at Old Trafford. Stand-in coach Darren Fletcher says the players have to come to the party.
And I think if I look at the players and we get players back from injury and in AFCON and we get a fuller squad, I think these players have got the ability to qualify in a Champions League place, and that should be their objective, that should be their mindset. But they're going to have to come together and be part of that as well. It's not about a manager, and the players have to group together, find a way of improving quickly and taking on the challenge for the rest of the season. Don't waste the season.
Barcelona won the Spanish Super Cup. They beat Real Madrid 3-2 in last night's final. In Investec Rugby Champions Cup, all 3 South African sides lost this weekend. The Stormers suffering a big defeat, their first one, going down 61-10 to Harlequin. Stormers boss John Dobson.
Well, thank God there's a team waiting on Monday ready to train, so that'll help some of the fallout on this. But just to get back to the values that got us to where we are now, defensively awful beat, our breakdown was awful. So that's probably the 2 areas that I'll focus on after tonight.
Stage 7 of the Dakar, South Africans Henk Lataghan and Brett Cummins finished in 13th. They had dominated for over 400 kilometres of Stage 7. They looked to reclaim the overall lead, but a damper issue caused by impact in the final kilometres forced them to limp the car home. It drops them to 4th overall. They're now 7 minutes behind the leaders. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
It's 8:45. Let's catch up with the roads. Delays towards the CBD, you say. Karabo, Johannesburg, this is,
The Johannesburg CBD, delays heading towards the Kiluli's interchange. This is coming from the Germiston area. M2 westbound delays all the way from Heidelberg Road. Also, if you're traveling through Boysent, there's also bumper traffic M1 North, delays all the way from Boysons Road. Irene, there's slow-moving traffic on Nalmapius Drive approaching Main Road. Otherwise, generally things have settled down nicely. Just look out for those faulty traffic lights in four ways at Witkoppen and Leslie, as well as in Magaliesig at Main and Witkoppen. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
To you by Eskom. Redefining for a better future.
Are you running a business? Every rand counts. Save electricity and cut costs by switching off lights, computers, and aircons after hours. Use energy-efficient lighting and equipment and make saving electricity part of your daily routine. Smart energy habits mean lower bills and greener business future. Let's power success efficiently.
Let's use electricity wisely. Eskom.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
Both parties aren't speaking. It was a simple statement. From what we know, from what we understand of the industry, does this merger make sense?
I mean, the market has sort of rewarded the prospects to Glencore, so 7% up, whereas Rio Tinto is 6% down. This is a bit complicated, and there are a lot of complications in combining these two companies.
David Mackay, the editor at Mining MX.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA CIB. Invested in your story because your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
coming up
On the Clement Manyathela Show
on 702.
New year, new Clement.
New us.
No beard. No beard.
You
It's
have
gone.
dreadlocks as well, suddenly.
No, I don't have dreadlocks.
What is that?
It's just.
Aren't you growing dreadlocks?
I still have hair.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good.
You
I'm good. I'm
rested?
rested, feeling recuperated, feeling energized. Gosh, there's no shortage of stories to cover because it's the second week of the year, and already the world has gone mad.
It has. And that's where we're going to pick up on the 702 open line today. We're going to have a conversation about, because the US president, you saw what he posted, right?
He's the acting president of Venezuela now.
Yeah. So what's next? And I think we need to think about what the world is going to look like under a US empire, because I think that's what Trump is essentially trying to assert.
But here's my difficulty with all of this. And maybe let me sort of throw in my 5 cents worth on your conversation. You can pick it up. I wonder how much he's thought through some of his misadventures, because he said he'd spoken to the oil execs before going into Venezuela, which, of course, given the nature of the operation, never made sense. He only spoke to them afterwards. We don't have certainty that the Republicans will still hold the White House at the end of this term. That's if he doesn't try for a third, which is a whole other conversation. So if you're an oil company looking at the investment you're going to need to plow into Venezuela to get that oil, you want certainty that this thing will still be there for you to get your money back, even if Trump is gone.
Beyond this year, even beyond the next 3 years.
Right. Now, he's also at the same time saying, listen, midterms, if we don't do right, I might be impeached. Because actually, all of this is illegal to begin with.
Yes. But he's never cared about illegalities.
Part of how Maduro was kidnapped was it was their version of what we might call load shedding. Because they've got issues with their electricity grid.
Except the US military triggered the power failure.
But they've been having issues. I'm just talking in the sense now of getting the oil out of the ground. So that's part of what you have to... So you're not just investing in the machinery to get it out of the ground.
Electricity
You've got to make sure there's electricity in the country.
Yeah. So what we're going to do on the show is at 10 o'clock, we're going to take you live to Venezuela to hear what the situation is on the ground. And I'm also interested, I'm going to speak to Ruel Stolk, who's the director of Caracas Chronicles, because I'm interested to hear
especially when it comes to oil. How is that being worked out? Because there are pressures on the vice president in Venezuela, from the police minister, the military minister, people who really have significant influence within the executive. So how is the vice president even balancing that out, taking instructions from the US and the acting president, Trump, while also balancing the interests of the Venezuelans? So that's what's happening at 10 o'clock. And then at 10:30, I'm going to start a new series today. I would have probably done it somewhere mid-year today, this year. But I want to start it today because I think it's setting us up for what we can expect over the next couple of months. I'm going to be looking over the next couple of weeks at countries that have been invaded by the US and what the reasons were.
Yeah.
Today, we start with Iraq. I want us to go bit by bit because if you watch closely, there's all been different justifications, but there was one ultimate goal. So I want the listeners to understand that. We're going to look at all these countries the US has invaded over the next couple of weeks. So that's at 10:30. And then we wrap up the show at 11 o'clock with our Family Matters feature. How do we build new habits and positive traditions as a family unit? That's our focus today on our Family Matters feature.
The first Clement Manyathela show with Clement at the helm for 2026.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Morning, Bongani and team. Happy New Year, Charlotte and Rutherford. So I went to Limpopo over the holidays, and let me tell you, even the parts that never had potholes, there was potholes everywhere, the biggest ones I have ever seen. And then sadly, I went to my mom's village, Galedwaba, towards Leboagomo. There's a main road which is still gravel. Up to this point, that road was gravel when I was born, Bongani. I'm over 40 now. When I said to my mother, it's very sad that they can't even tar this main road that is used every day by even buses, cars, everyone. I mean, that's the saddest thing I saw. Thank you.
Oh, bongos. Morning, Happy New Year. The road from from KZN going into the Eastern Cape, where it leaves the N2 and you continue with the R61. The road is all nice on the KZN side. Once you jump into the Eastern Cape, bongos, those are not potholes. They try patching them. They open after it rains. Those are not potholes. Those are Kimberley holes. You get Kimberley holes all around the R61 until you get to Mbizane. The project must just continue, or the N2 just continues on the side. That road is bad, man.
I was asking, as you were traveling over the festive period, perhaps to various parts of the country, what was the state of the roads? We're not talking the national ones, the ones that SANRAL perhaps operates because they've got budgets. But what was the sense of the provincial roads and general infrastructure? Is it your sense that things are being taken care of, or are you seeing decay around the country, especially as you move away from the big cities?
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
Let's talk now about a musical set to take South Africa by storm. You may remember, of course, the film version with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, a love story that was absolutely unforgettable. We're talking about Pretty Woman. It's going to come to South African stages as a musical. And Chris Jafta is the lead actor in this version of Pretty Woman and joins us now on the line from Johannesburg. Chris, a very good morning to you and thank you for your time. Happy New Year.
And to you, Bones, good morning. So good to be with you guys this morning and your listeners.
This is one of the most beloved romantic stories. In fact, if I remember from the film, it started out, I understand, as a much darker film than what we saw in the end. But it was an absolutely fantastic movie. It was a huge hit. Julia Roberts, Richard Gere, and now, of course, there's a musical version.
Yes, indeed. So it's obviously the stage adaptation of the iconic 1990 film that captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. So we're just bringing this beloved story of Vivian Edward to life with bigger Broadway energy, amazing sets, and obviously the music is amazing. So it stays true to the romance that audiences love while adding a lot of fresh humor, heart, and theatrical spectacle, obviously.
Talk to me about, for anybody who was off the planet or perhaps who wasn't around, who may not remember the general plot of it. Firstly, describe the story of Pretty Woman, and how does the musical take us into that world perhaps differently than the film?
Well, audiences already know the story, but the live theatrical experience it's going to add, depth and scale and emotion. We obviously remember some of the iconic moments from the film. It's all about the fashion, the romance, and the humor. So audiences are just going to expect it are going to experience it on a much larger scale. And it brings all the iconic songs of Bryan Adams to life. And then obviously we know the Oh Pretty Woman song is not Bryan Adams. That is, I forget the name.
Roy Orbison. I remember the soundtrack to the movie. It was absolutely gorgeous. So the music for the musical version, as you say, was written by Bryan Adams and Jim Vallance, I think it is. Is it entirely different music to the soundtrack? Is Pretty Woman the only song from that original film soundtrack that makes it? Just tell me a little bit more about that.
So I haven't actually gotten the score and script just yet. I'm going to have to dig into that a little deeper. But your audiences are going to have to come and check it out. But there are the famous Bryan Adams songs that everybody knows. And then obviously the iconic Pretty Woman. So yeah, it's something audiences can look forward to.
Now, what does it feel for you to be cast in this role?
To be honest with you, so we just finishing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and it was a really long run. I haven't.
So you're about to. Okay, so you haven't started the rehearsals yet. You haven't gone through that process. You just know you got the role.
It's been 10 years since I've been on stage, so it was going to be like a one and done thing for me. I always come back to stage and that sort of thing, but having the opportunity to work with Showtime Management and Crossroads Live North America. Hazel Feldman was like my TV mom, you know what I mean? I beg your pardon, my theater mom. So when she said, "Hey, we want you," I was like, "Okay, cool. Let me do my thing," and the rest is history. So I'm looking forward to working with an amazing cast and obviously an amazing management team. The venue is going to be at Artscape. As well as Monte Cassino's Teatro.
Yeah.
Artscape is
the run is towards the end of April, towards May. So perhaps, to be fair to you and to be kind to you, Chris, why don't we let you get familiar with the material, and as you get ready towards when the run will begin, we can chat again to see how it's all come together for you.
100%. I don't know if you're going to want dates then, because 18th of March is from in Cape Town to the 19th of April, and then the Teatro is from the 24th of April to the 24th of May.
Yeah.
And then obviously people can book on showtime.co.za or ticketmaster.co.za.
Absolutely. I think it's one to look out for, but perhaps what we'll do is closer towards the Joburg run, perhaps if we can find time, we'll chat to you about just what the process for rehearsals and getting ready for the performances will look like. But it's certainly something to put on our calendar for the rest of the year. Chris Jafta, the lead actor in Pretty Woman, the musical, he's just got off a major production, so we'll give him time to get a breather and get ready for this role. But it is sure to be a knockout.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
And with that comes the end of this first edition of 702 Breakfast with me, Bongani Bingwa, for the year 2026. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. It's 9 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. A 42-year-old man arrested for allegedly killing his wife and stuffing her body into the boot of her vehicle is said to appear in court this morning. He was arrested on Saturday by police after his wife's remains were found in the car, which was parked at a
violence. A husband will appear in the Alberton Magistrates Court this morning for the murder of his wife. The 42-year-old is accused of stabbing his wife numerous times and then stuffing her body into the boot of her